Hello, everyone. Welcome to Yellow Chair Collective, the podcast, a space where we gather for honest conversations about identity, healing, and growth. I'm your host today, Soo Jin Lee. Today, we are continuing our Eldest Daughter interview series. In this episode, we're talking about the pressure to perform that so many of us, eldest daughters, especially in Asian families, carry from a young age. We're honored to be joined by our therapist, Helen Garcia and Esther Lee again, who bring both clinical insight and lived experiences to this conversation. Welcome back.
Hello, hello. We're happy to be here.
Happy to have this conversation again for like the third or fourth time now, right?
I think it's either the fourth or fifth, because we did one on relationships, family dynamics, work, and now we're doing it on self-care. So yeah,
So
number
this is
four.
this is our number 4. And those of you that, we're hearing all the themes and are relating to it, be sure to listen to all of our episodes.
There's a lot there.
There is a lot. All right. So as we begin, we love to ask an icebreaker question. And I love this question, actually. What's the most, because we're talking about productivity and like pressure today. So the question is, what's the most unproductive thing that you did this week that actually made you feel like yourself? So it's unproductive and it's still completely you.
I've started watching Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. So it's basically like the origin of Lord of the Rings. And I've never been a fan of Lord of the Rings in my whole entire life, but like I've been forced to watch it because I'm married to someone who's a complete Lord of the Rings nerd. So it's been nice. And it's basically like a metaphor of how humans are made to, or like beings are made to fight one another when there's also like a bigger force out there, either for good or for bad. So it's really beautiful. I love the storyline. Yeah.
Okay, that's more like it.
Thank you.
Like we need something that's distracting, that's not productive.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. What
Esther?
about y'all?
I have rewatched K-pop Demon Hunters more times than I care to admit. Like, just purely, I don't have kids. I don't spend that much time around very young children, but purely for me, and I like sing along to all of the songs, and I just have a great, like, it's to the point where my partner thinks it's like a TV series that doesn't end. All these things was like pieces of me watching it.
My God. What is it about the movie that you like that's like nostalgic
There's
enough?
so much. I mean, it's like a good storyline, great music, good graphics, all of that, but also like it really resonates to like so much. I mean, really, so much of my identity as an eldest daughter too. Especially think about the main song of like "No more hiding, and I'm shining like I'm born to be." It's like, it's like. It's like the Korean American aspects of the story really resonate with just like my experience of life, but also like that narrative of like I don't need to hide away the parts of who I am. I'm allowed to just shine and that's good enough. Yeah.
I never thought of it like that. That's so cool.
I absolutely love the movie too. At first, I was like, it's for kids. Like, I'm not going to watch it. I'm too cool for school. And then every single person I meet, you're Korean, you haven't seen it yet. And I'm like, fine. And then I finally did, and I'm in love.
Oh,
I'll rewatch it by myself. Like, I can watch it probably once a week and like never get tired of it.
Yeah, and I love the song so much. So my unproductive thing that I did, and I typically do very often, is just like turn on my vinyl, like the record player, and just listen to the music and sit there and absolutely do nothing. And I love that. And I've been looking for the vinyl to purchase.
Wait, the K-pop Demon Hunters?
The Demon Hunters, yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, you can get like the score of the movie and just like play it. That's so awesome.
I love movie scores.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The sound of vinyl is actually a lot better than any other sound. Like computer MP4, like it compresses the file, but like it's just so beautiful, like the warmth of the sound that you get coming from it. Yeah.
And we have like a nice speaker that we've attached to it, and it's my vibe.
That's so cool. What other music do you listen to, Soo?
So the one that I listen to a lot on repeat also is La La Land.
Yeah, I love that one.
My partner is so sick of it. He was just like, I'm not a fan of movie scores.
Same thing on the same.
I'm like, too bad. I like it.
You know, when I need to write notes, I love playing the Interstellar movie score. That's like my favorite movie score.
Okay, I'll listen to that one.
Yeah, it's
I
so
also
good.
have a lot of Studio Ghibli, like Studio Ghibli jazz mix,
Mhm.
the original scores. Like, yeah, I have a bunch.
I didn't know you liked jazz so much, Soo Jin.
I love jazz. It just like brings me to get that fun, funky vibe. Makes me want to dance. My shoulders move as I'm talking about it.
Ooh, that's awesome.
I love this. Just one question also led us to just have this quote unquote unproductive conversation about our lives.
But also, I feel personally called
things.
out that I'm actually more productive than I realize. That's what I'm learning from this conversation. My love of learning has been more productive than I realize.
You know that about yourself already, Helen.
I do. But I would say though, it's not something that I do to move my life forward. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there are things that we do out of curiosity and then things that we do. Maybe I'm getting defensive, but oh well, let's move on.
Curiosity is good though. Like, being present with curiosity.
Yeah,
I feel like
for sure.
it speaks to your capacity, like mental, emotional capacity to be present. Because so many times, and we're going to talk about this in a moment too, like we're so fixated on not just productivity, but the moments of things that we need to fix, right? As part of being eldest daughter or within the relationship, within my own life or whatever, etc. That sometimes there's just not a lot of capacity to just be present, to be just curious.
Yeah. It's like a luxury for so many eldest daughters.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of fixing, as therapists, as just, eldest daughters, how can we tell the difference between this thought that I have that I am a fixer, like we identify as being the fixer of our households, and how do we differentiate that from like I am having a thought. It's just a thought that I need to fix something, this urge that I have.
Like, what's the difference between acting on it and thinking about acting on it?
Yeah. Or perhaps like the difference between identifying with this thought, like I need to fix this because this is who I am. I'm a fixer. This is what I
Mm.
do. And then the thought of just like, okay, this is just a thought that I'm having. I have an urge to want to fix this.
Yeah, I've been thinking about like a variation of all of this for myself before for a while now. And the thought pattern that I've been trying to practice more is like when I get the urge to need to do something for someone else, really checking in with this idea of like what is the role that I'm taking on and giving myself permission to not need to be everything for everyone. Because especially for me, I am eldest daughter, but also pastor's daughter for my entire life. And so the two identities are very much fused. And so that sense of responsibility very much extends beyond my household and beyond my family dynamics into the greater community. And then there's this, like, it's like limitless, boundaryless. And so I'll see like one recent thought I had was, I've been having a dog. You meet a lot of neighbors, and there's this older lady in my neighborhood. And recently she has been having more trouble walking lately, but I always see her out with her dog, and she's really dedicated to taking care of this dog. And I felt this urge to be like, to want to offer to like walk her dog at least once a day for her. And then I was like, you don't have to do that. She has children of her own, adult children of her own who can help her out if she needs. She has her own people. Like, she is someone in the vicinity, like in my external circles. I don't have to always show up for everyone in the same way that I do for my family.
Yeah. For me, I think I've gotten really blessed with a good mom because she knows and can tell when I take on too much responsibility. Like the other month, my grandma actually got hospitalized. She got pneumonia on her left lung, and then she had to get fluid drained from her right lung. And we were in the hospital for like 3 days, like the whole family just like taking after her. And I put so much guilt and shame on myself for having to be there for everyone. And I think the difference between acting on the identity and then thinking about the identity is like the ability to vocalize it and to communicate it with family. Because I think a lot of the assumptions that we make in our day-to-day household is so immediate, like the desire to act on the feeling of responsibility that you feel. And so I felt really grateful that my mom was like, you can go home. Like, you don't have to stay the night at the hospital, like, take care of yourself. And then you said something the other episode, Soo Jin, about what if eldest daughters didn't have to take on all the responsibility? What if there was equal weight distributed amongst family? And it really gave me the opportunity to like think on that. And so I communicated with my sister of like, what do you think is doable for both of us? Do you need to go home? So I'm grateful that I have family nearby who where I don't have to take on so much of that weight, but also like all of us were participating in equal holding of one person as opposed to all the responsibility falling onto me or to my mom or to my sister. So it felt like an opportunity to do things in a different way. So I think communication and then also like reflective thought is necessary in those moments.
Absolutely. I feel that. And then, part of Helen, what you were mentioning was a lot of my experience of trying to figure out this idea of like equilibrium within family dynamics and how we each take on a role in the family household. And sometimes because when we identify ourselves as the fixers, that we're not giving other people the opportunity to also fix and perhaps make mistakes along the way too. Like that goes into and feeds into my need of perfectionism that we've talked about in the past too, of like, well, if I'm not the one doing it, it's not going to get done now, and it's not going to get done in the way that I want it to get done. So then I feed my urge by just acting upon that and continue. It's a cycle that I'm continuously feeding myself and my identity, right? But if I can give space to just say, you know what, somebody else is going to do this and there's going to be a lot of mistakes because they're going to just have to learn how to fix it and letting that go. That process has given me so much freedom for myself
So
and for the
true.
people around me. Like I'm not clinging on to this control anymore.
Yeah, that's so true.
So, we're talking a lot about fixing and the controls and all of this. Why is it that and we started the conversation around like unproductivity too. So why is it that for us doing nothing, right? For me, it was letting go of that control and just sitting and letting those mistakes happen, right? Like doing nothing, so uncomfortable for eldest daughters. Like what makes it so uncomfortable for us? And I think there's like a physical element too. Like as I'm speaking, I'm also like shrinking, like, oh, it's so uncomfortable. Where is that
Yeah.
coming from?
For me, because I can only speak for myself, but like there's almost like to me, it kind of feels like the lack of courage to act on what you know is right. And so that's my immediate response of like my sister and I have very different responses to when we need to act on something. Like she will ask for help and she'll say, hey, I'm trying to decide between these two things. What should I do? Would you be able to help me? This is my mindset around it. Versus me, I'm kind of like, I need to figure this out. I need to do like, here's my strategy of action. I already have plan A, B, C, D, E. And I think it comes with like having parents that didn't know all the answers and me being like the trial run, and then witnessing them having to go through the stress of figuring life out as immigrants in their early 30s and then not wanting to be a burden. I think that's probably what it is. Like, I don't want to have someone worry about me more than they already are,
Super cool.
You feel called out, Esther? Why?
How so?
When you said that, the way it like translated into my brain was like the courage to just sit still or allow other people to take care of things around you that like you don't have to always be the one to do it all. I'm like, "Ugh, but I do such a good job." Like, yeah, I think about my relationship with my younger sister and like she's always commenting on how she'll like sit in the middle of a room and I'll be running circles around her, just like doing things constantly every day. Even we quarantined together during the COVID shutdown, and like, COVID was like the time of the most downtime for most folks. Um, I don't even know what I was doing. I can't sit still. And I think there definitely is a sense of that productivity translating to self-worth. If I'm not doing the things, if I'm not making as comfortable of an environment for everyone around me at all times, and that requires me to always be doing all the things, then it's not enough. Then I'm not good.
I relate to that. And then going even further into like taking care of the things around me, it feels like if I'm not in control of that, that I felt uncomfortable. But also, if somebody else is trying to take care of me, that felt uncomfortable too, because I'm supposed to be the one that's doing that. But if it's getting returned to me, then what am I doing? What is my role? Like all of a sudden, my identity, my role is lost. You're saying our identities are so tied to the acts of service, right? To give. And then all of a sudden, if I'm on the receiving end, that felt really uncomfortable for me. And so I think this showed up a lot in my marriage. And, throughout the years, like I've really had to learn to ask more. Because initially, what I was creating was a dynamic where I wasn't receiving. And so then it also tires the other person out to want to give as well. Like I'm creating that dynamic so that I'm not receiving, they're not giving. Right. And so then I had to fix it by not only just letting go, but actively also needing to ask for things now too. And then it's creating a new cycle of, okay, now he's actually having joy in giving, because there's so much joy when you're giving and there's like this reaction of receiving. Right? Give and receive is an interaction.
Mm.
And so we're creating that like interactive dynamic into joy as part of our days.
That's so true, Soo Jin. Like something happened the other month where I like love doing things myself. Like it's my favorite thing. Like I just love learning things and doing things myself. And then one day, John shows up, my husband shows up with a camera and lighting for me. And he goes, "Can I help you with your video setup?" And he, without telling me, he gets me like a monitor, a camera, and a light, a key light, and he just like sets up my entire space. And he's in film. So I felt so inadequate in that moment of like, why do you feel like you can do this for me? Like I feel more comfortable on the other side. And then the shame that I had to work through in that moment of like, why don't I think I'm deserving of this? Like, why don't I think I'm deserving of good gifts, And like there was one disagreement we got in the other week of like, he's like, "I noticed that you have this proclivity to minimize. Like you look around our place and you go, what can I get rid of? Rather than like, what is enough?" He's like, there can be enough, So that's so relatable. It made me think of that.
Yeah, Christmas time especially is when I become very keenly aware of that. Every gift that my partner has gotten me, I think my initial reaction was, "Why did you do this? Like, this is too much."
That's relatable.
He was literally like, "You're the worst receiver ever." And I'm like,
Yeah.
it would be a great gift that anyone would be happy to receive. But my initial reaction is always, and it's always also part of that survival mentality of, this is money that we could have spent on something else. Why
Yeah.
would we spend it on luxury item just for me?
Yeah, no, I relate to that so much also too, because one of the things that one of the thing I was doing to myself so that I can kind of get out of that guilt was I still wanted to have some luxury items. Like it feels good to still, part of me feels so good to still receive that, but then I feel too guilty to actually receive that, right? And so then I was initially in the beginning of our relationship, I was asking for things that are luxury that are also productive. So then it like allows me to receive it with greater joy and convince myself that this is actually good for me, right?
Like what?
Like a juicer.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, something for the kitchen that we would actually use on a day-to-day basis. But then it's like a little bit too expensive. It's like the higher end of the juicer where we could have had just a $50 juicer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
will say, like, so you got a Dyson for Christmas, and I've been using my Dyson, and the amount of dirt that it picks up is better than any vacuum I've ever used.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It's so worth it.
Why did you do this? We spent so much money for Christmas.
Yeah. But you know what? Like, so this is like how conservative I am with my money. I bought a fake Dyson before I won the Dyson at our YCC Christmas party. I bought a fake Dyson, and real Dysons, you don't have to take out the handle, like the attachment, to take out the dirt, but you had to take out the attachment. And so all the dirt would fall out on my floor before I could empty the thing. And then that kept happening every time, right? So, and I lived with that. I lived with that for as long as I got the Dyson. And then when we finally got what we would call like luxury vacuum, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a whole new world. Like I don't have to keep suffering. And it's like it woke me up to the fact of like, is money worth more than the time and the investment that it takes to like actually have something that's worth it, you know? But that's like a belief system.
Right. I was
Anyway.
going to say, so again, we're going back to that belief system that we still need to make something of value. It still has to be productive. Helen, what you're talking about, that was also part of my cycle, is that it still has to bring value one way or another. And so like this year, so we've been really doing this, exchange of like receiving with joy, whether it's productive or not, right? Because that was my learning process. And so like this year, my spouse got me bag, and it's not something I'm gonna use, to be honest. It's just not. It's pretty, so it's sitting in my closet. But I've had, I know a few years ago, my initial reaction would have been like, "Why'd you get this? It's so useless." And it's like I'd rather have something useful, but. I go into the closet and I look at it and I'm like, I have this pretty thing in my closet and I'm just going to enjoy looking at it. And then maybe one of these days it'll come to use. Who knows? It's my
Yeah, I do
unproductive.
right. I think a part of it is really like believing that you're deserving of that. Right. I think especially in the roles that we play as the giver, which makes it hard for us to receive, but it also translates into what you're deserving of. And like we are also just deserving of beautiful things because they're beautiful rather than needing to do something with it. And then like a juicer too, it's like that's not just for you, that's for anyone who wants juice. It's not, like whereas a bag could just be for you and for you to look at in your closet, even if you never use it. And along that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Does go back to the deserving part. Yeah.
Like what is it that I do deserve? And that's like a great assignment or like a reflection point for anyone listening to the podcast of how are we functioning out of a place of lack as opposed to actually giving ourselves what we need and what we could actually use,
Speaking of deserving, one of the things that I've been reflecting a lot on is also the sense of time, value for money. You got to get your bang for your buck, right? That's like something that we all already go in with. And we have that similar concept of time too. I've been taught growing up that time is money, right? And how I use my time, how I use my energy within that time needs to still have some kind of value that gives back to somebody else or to our society. And then that speaks to my identity as well, right? And so just way beginning of our conversation, like we started off with unproductive time that we've spent and the ways that we feel uncomfortable doing that and giving that to ourselves. Because very often, going back to Esther, what you had mentioned, it's like we don't feel that we deserve this moment to just give to ourselves and nobody else. So speaking of time and this feelings of guilt that we have around our presence with time, how do we handle the guilt of presence, right? This feeling of like, okay, if I'm doing nothingness in sitting with that and giving that to myself, like how do we handle that?
Esther, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, a question like that always brings me back to one of the basic principles of compassion practices of how would you talk a friend through this, right? If a friend was coming to you with this question or with a struggle, how would you guide them through it? And I would always tell my friends, like, girl, you work hard. You deserve to just sit there. You deserve to literally stop and smell the flowers or touch grass just because you are, right? Like you don't have to do anything to be deserving of presence or rest simply because you are human existing in this world and probably doing a really good job of all of that too. Going back, simply because you are human, you get to deserve to just be here and allow yourself to be present. Yes.
So I'm going to share a story of like this past Thanksgiving. Listen to this. So it's 4 a.m. So I'm going in line to get my ticket information changed. And the stewardess lady is like the most vibrant stewardess front desk lady I've ever seen. She's like playing blasting music at 5 a.m. and her body language is just like so open and like, hey, ma'am, come here. And then she's like chatting me up. She's like a vibrant, full of joy. And in that moment, I'm observing my body language and hers. And I'm noticing that I'm shrinking, like I'm not taking up a ton of space. And we're both like Pacific Islander Asian. And she looks at me, she's like, oh yeah, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, I'm from the Philippines. She's like, oh, cool. I'm from the Philippines too. And there was almost this moment of like, where did she wake up this morning? And where did I wake up this morning? Like what mindset brought us to take up this type of space? And so I had started to notice that like sometimes the guilt of presence comes from a belief that we're not allowed to take up space, or that there's something about our presence that shouldn't be there in the room. And there's something of value of just being wholly who you are, you know? And for me, the feeling of I'm not good enough, I have to recognize that as a belief and understanding that I don't have to earn my place. But it took 5 a.m. Thanksgiving Eve to realize that, being in the presence of someone that didn't feel like she had to earn her worth in a space. Like she can dance in the middle of a workplace environment and like greet people and just be herself, you know? It was something that just kind of woke me up to that. But I had been living for the last 2 decades feeling like I had to earn energy, you know, where I was that energy myself. So it took that moment, fortunately and unfortunately for me. So that's how I handled it.
One of the things that, as you're talking about this, is a fun little like mindfulness activity that I like to do for myself, also because it's really fun for me and it feels productive in some way, but not really productive also. Mindfulness activity to analyzing myself now is just carrying my dog, right? In the morning.
Carrying your dog.
Yeah, just like carrying my dog and having it because he hates being carried, right? He absolutely hates it. But I'm just like, you know what? You get free things in this world. Like, what did you do, right? What did you do to deserve this life? This free food, this free water, this, like this free house that you live
It's
in.
so nice, dude.
I need to be more like you. I do think about that though, right? And like day to day, I just like carry my dog and I'm like, you know what? You're just existing and you're happy just existing. Yeah. You're happy. You're not thinking about like what your energy needs to be, who it needs to be given to. Like I'm just forcing you to give me your energy right now. By carrying.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but like it's almost as if when kids reach the age of 7 or 8, they start to become aware of how they're being perceived. But they're so cute when they're like 5 or 6 because they're just them, you know?
Yeah.
So that's like a really great analogy of like, asking yourself, am I deserving to be here? Doesn't really help anyone because you're already there.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think about my dog a lot in those moments of like, what did he do to deserve all the
Very smallest corner of my bed because my dog decided to curl up in the center or right next to me, pushing me more to the corner. I will think of I can unapologetically take up space.
Those are
So
like my
right,
favorite
Esther.
people.
You're so right. I'm like, you're right. Why is my dog taking up half of my bed?
She didn't do nothing to deserve it, but there she is, so happy.
Well, this goes into talking about what healing can look like then, and some tools or strategies. So what can healing look like for us? What has it looked like for both of you in letting ourselves be imperfectly present?
Like we've been talking about time and what healing looks like in terms of time. And I think that in this season of healing, I've really been looking at my mindset of how am I thinking about myself and am I happy about that? Am I proud about that? There's that movie with Justin Timberlake where time is a currency and like the rich have all the time and the poor have to work constantly to earn back time. And once you're out of time, you're clocked out. You're essentially dead. And I'm starting to look at time almost like a form of blessing of like, how can I make the most out of time? And I can go into the science behind it because I acknowledge and fully own that I'm a nerd. But there's a quote by like a famous scientist that says that time expands given how much experience and presence we put into each and every moment. And so when we live in a life of routine, having routine doesn't allow you to remember the juice of a time. And like, so the slowing down of time is allowing yourself to experience variety and different things. Like travel is a way to slow down time, changing up your routine, meeting someone new, being open to a new experience. Like that's what healing means to me. And it's kind of made me feel better, honestly. So that's me.
Love that for you. I relate to you, Helen, because the word that's coming to me is like you're being spontaneous. And that's something that I had tried working on in the past too. Like things needed to be so regimented. And you're right that when you look back on the moments or the things that I want to remember, even just within this like week of the January that has just passed in 2026, I'm like, I don't remember anything besides these moments of like spontaneous joys or calmness or peace or whatever. It just came out of the blue. And I remember those moments though. Okay.
That's good.
Something that's come up a lot in Eldest Daughter groups of like my 80% is someone else, most other people's 110, 120%. And so rather than always burning myself out from both ends, allowing myself to give just enough, because usually that is actually enough, maybe more than enough to preserve myself. So it's like that balance of, yes, continue to do what you got to do, even if that means taking care of other people, but don't do it at your own expense. Don't do it to the point where you realize you're running on empty too late.
Makes me think about like the process of us, our society. So many of our conversations wrap around burnout. And really, I don't want to say cure, but like the cure to that is preventative care.
Yeah, that's the Kaiser model. Kaiser model is how do we help people early in their life stage, early enough in their life stage to prevent long-term illness. That's why a lot of doctors recommend getting blood tests before you see a doctor, you know?
I really like, because I know our healthcare is really built on post care.
Yeah.
Yeah, preventative care. Maybe that's the term that we will take with us, the fate. Preventative care for our time, our energy, our money, just
Mm.
ourselves, our relationships, our health.
Yeah.
My healing process has been very much involved, like my body. I've really been paying attention to just taking care of when my body is starting to ache, or it goes back to our conversations about preventative care. But yeah, when it starts to tell me something, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take care of you. And also exercising, like in the moments of the exercise, like I am forced to be present. My time stands still in the moment, be in the battle with my muscles.
That's so true. Like you're in the middle of a workout and you're like, I can't keep going. But my mind is willing, but the body is weak. Keep going. And then your instructor is like, come on, you have 3 more in you.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and that's all you're thinking about. It's just like I'm shaking.
Yeah. But again, that's what slows down time when you like
Mhm.
experience the juice of the moment. You know, sometimes when I'm like working from home online, like my mind is so tired, but my body is energized. And so that's such a good point, Soo Jin, of like, how can we be present through the use of the tool called the body so that we can keep going, you know, and live life sustainably. Love that.
Well, speaking of time, we have used up a lot of our time today as well in
Cool.
this, yeah, really amazing conversation that I felt really present in. And I hope both of you felt that way as well. I love having conversation with both of you around this topic of our identity as eldest daughters. I know that we could talk about this forever and ever, really. as we're continuously processing and learning and relearning. And yeah. Well, so the last question that I have is if you can give one piece of advice for the eldest daughters who feel like they can't turn off. If you can just give one advice, what would that be? One sentence advice.
Try something new.
Love that.
Say if the idea of turning off feels too difficult, then maybe it might be easier to reframe it as, what can you turn on that's just for you?
I love that so much. And mine would be just tune into your body. That's been my learning process, tuning into the body. Well, thank you so much, Helen and Esther, for sharing your wisdom and helping us find a little more space to just breathe and talk about our lives and ourselves today.
Thanks, Soo Jin.
All right. And to our listeners, especially our eldest daughters, you are allowed to be more than what you do for others. Follow us at Yellow Chair Collective at all the platforms. Thank you for listening to Yellow Chair Collective, the podcast. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.